She said, do you meditate? And I literally went on a diatribe. Meditate? I don't have time to meditate. I'm a multi-millionaire. I run the most notable sports agency in the world. I used to be the CEO of the world's first smartphone. Do you know who I am? Why would I meditate? I make everything happen. I grew up with nothing. I'm a multi-millionaire. I got a beautiful wife, beautiful cars, homes, houses, motorhomes, golf course. Why would I meditate? I don't have time to meditate. And she looked at me and she said, oh, that's too bad because I could teach you to vibrate faster.
Welcome to Stuck to Unstoppable, where we interview the world's foremost thought leaders to break things down in order to help you get past your hurts, habits, and hang-ups and finally level up and move forward. I'm your host, Scoggins. Now let's go ahead and get into today's guest and our featured conversation. You're not going to want to miss it. Hey guys, welcome back to the Journey Principles. As always, we take you from stuck to unstoppable in every single area of your life. In order to do that, we have to successfully both be students and teachers of experience, which is why I chose to bring on some of the most profound thought leaders of our time to help you finally get the needed traction in and around your life. Today's guest is no stranger to success, but more importantly, he's also no stranger to overcoming a variety of adversities of his own, which is where real wisdom and real experience is born. And that's why it's so important. David Meltzer is the co-founder of Sports Marketing, formerly served as the CEO of the renowned Leigh Steinberg Sports and Entertainment Agency, which is the inspiration for the movie Jerry Maguire. And I know you guys love that movie because I know I did. His life mission is to empower over 1 billion people to be happy. This simple yet powerful mission has led him on an incredible journey to provide one thing: value in the service of others. In all of his content and communication, that's exactly what you get when you actually work with him. I know that's what I've been getting from his digital mentorship side of things. He's a 3-time international best-selling author, top 100 business coach, the executive producer of Entrepreneur's #1 digital business show, Elevator Pitch, and the host of the top entrepreneur podcast called The Playbook. His newest book, Game Time Decision Making, was #1 as soon as it released. David has been recognized by Variety Magazine as a Sports Humanitarian of the Year and awarded the Ellis Island Medal of Honor. And in truth, as I mentioned before, he's one of my most profound and most exciting digital mentors of myself. So guys, help me welcome David Meltzer to the show. David, how you doing, my friend?
I am phenomenal, and I'm so excited to be here to hopefully share some wisdom and inspiration, and most importantly, empower others to empower others just to be happy.
Yeah. And one of the things that our good friend Evan Carmichael shared with me about our hearts is that we both have this impact first mentality, because we kind of figure the income will follow later on. But, one of the other things that he said that we share together is obviously difficult kind of story, kind of starting out life, obviously growing up with a single mother yourself. I grew up with a single grandmother, kind of thing. Same kind of deal, wanting very much to help them succeed and kind of provide a better life for them. And that kind of drove me and drove you. And we both went through some challenging situations and then had to kind of rebuild. If you don't mind, just for the audience's sake, would you mind just giving a brief overview of kind of some of that journey? Because I think that has a direct impact in who you are now and why you're so effective in helping people change from their lives.
I think first it was my relationship with money and my relationship to happiness. So for me, I grew up with a happiness gene and a happiness culture. At 5 years old, even though my father left, my mom was an extraordinary individual who raised 6 kids with 2 jobs and would pack our dinners in a station wagon and never complain about anything, although I'd catch her crying over financial stress. And I know the reason she was financially stressed is she just wanted more for us, not for herself. But that drove me to this understanding that I was going to buy her a house and a car. And in order to do so, I needed to make a lot of money. And so money was then the guide to me to buy the final piece of happiness, the final piece of love, to be the favorite child, to distinguish myself with hyper-competitive, academic, intelligent siblings, all who went to the Ivy Leagues and graduated summa cum laude. I was going to show them, and although it's more genetically from my father, the entrepreneurial side, who was absent, I took that journey on. And the interesting thing is, I did make, $1 million 9 months out of law school. I was a multimillionaire in my 20s. All those things just reaffirmed money buys love and happiness. And maybe you can see the thing behind me. It says money doesn't buy love or happiness.
It's a hard lesson to learn.
Yeah, it cost me over $100 million and almost my health, my family, and everything to learn that unbelievably valuable lesson that has put us both on a journey to put faith in front of the other currency, money, the object of energy that we put into the flow to get things. But I have a different relationship to money now than I ever have.
It's phenomenal. I went through a very similar situation, battling homelessness, building my first company, and then having to replace my executive team literally overnight due to embezzlement. That was a $1 million plus mistake. So that was a hard thing, because you let people into your inner circle, and you're always trying to surround yourself with good people. And I think that's one of the things that can really define, who we become and what possibilities lay before us. I know that a lot of things that kind of surround you now is attracting certain levels of talent, attracting certain things into your life and things of that nature. And I'm curious, how are you able to put quality people, around yourself to kind of, not only just empower them, but also kind of keep yourself insulated and protected so you can be the most effective version of yourself?
It's so interesting, because I used to judge and define myself by the bank account I had.
Yeah.
Now I judge and define myself by the people who I attract, and also how I feel. And one of the greatest achievements of my entire life is that I keep attracting people like you, Evan Carmichael, or, unbelievable people who impact the entire world, the Deepak Chopras and the Jack Canfields and the Bob Proctors and the John Asseroffs. And these are my friends. These are my associates. And I look around me, and I have, especially in the last 5 years, I know I set forth on this new journey 14, almost 15 years ago now, almost 15, it'll be 15 in December. But the main thing is, I'm getting very rigid about not allowing people who bleed me to be around me. I allow people to fall away. I pray for their happiness. And if they're disastrous, I will fire them from my lives. And someone who wants to please everyone, someone who wants to be loved by everyone, an inherent quantum nature that I've had to break the chain of, it's very difficult still today at 52 to realize, wait a second, why am I wasting my time being sucked dry when I could be either mutually or even better being fed? And I want to feed those people that feed me.
Amen to that, for sure. It's funny you said that, because, I discovered a long time ago that it seems to be there seems to be 4 underlying needs that most people have in either trying to transform their own lives or trying to be a quality relationship for somebody else. You'd mentioned, relationships that kind of can bleed you a little bit. And I found that people typically want one of 4 things at a very, very deep level until they get to the level of sacrifice and things that you've gone through yourself to kind of grow out of a little bit, which is to be seen, to be heard, to be valued, and be appreciated, right? All of us are, for lack of a better word, we're all chasing this stuff, and, I think there's wisdom and understanding. And I think that's one of the things that I love most about adversity and how it produces a miraculous milk, so to speak, of how it shapes our lives, And, when I look at what you've been building and what you've been building for a long time, one of the things I love most about it is the genuine sincerity behind it. Now, where do you think that genuine sincerity was built? Because there are a lot of, obviously, as Evan refers to, the good guys and the bad guys kind of thing, right? He referred to you as one of the good guys, which is why he insisted that we connect. And, what do you think differentiates the good guys from the bad guys in today's environment?
Lessons, and most likely the lessons about the ego. And I've been blessed because I had been born into kindness. My mom instilled these traits and values of gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, and inspiration. And I grew up with those, and through the wrong focus and through buying into my own BS, and from finally enlightening myself, the biggest lesson for me was I hated my father because he was a liar, cheater, manipulator, overseller, and back-end seller. And he tried to redeem that relationship late in my 20s and early 30s. And I wasn't ready for it. And I just went to blame, shame, and justification, and went down a slippery slope, a spiral of, blame, shame, and unhappiness. And it was so interesting because when I made my transformational shift, the first catalytic event of that transformational shift was my wife telling me that I had lost taking stock in my values, and I still didn't want to listen to her. I went again and said, I was offended. I was resentful. I'm like, are you kidding me? Look around at the cars, the houses, the boats, the motorhomes, the golf course, the ski mountain, all the things that we own. Are you kidding me? The live-in nanny. Are you kidding me? The happy 3 beautiful girls at the time. And then I saw the one thing my father had given me in 30 years, a jacket with no pockets at 30 years old. He gave it to me years earlier. And I looked at it. I still get choked up thinking about it because I remember thinking, man, I'm a liar. Right? I'm a cheater. I'm a manipulator. I wasn't a bad person.
Yeah.
I a little bit different than my friend Evan. I believe everyone is good. They just have lessons to learn. I think
Me too.
I've seen really good, desperate people do bad things. I think people do bad things, and some people do more bad things than others for varying reasons. Yeah. So for me, I was just doing some bad things. I was a good person. I gave to charity for the wrong reasons. Is that bad? Right? I gave to receive. I gave money so people would, like you said, acknowledge me. I would, right? All the things you just mentioned, those 4 things, that's why I was philanthropic, not unconditionally like my mom was philanthropic. And I think it was that shift to me of looking and fully understanding I have a journey now. For me, pain is not going to be a stop sign. Yeah. Pain is going to be an indicator, a turn signal that I have a better direction to go, that I have lessons to learn. And once I learn the lessons, the pain will go away, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, and financial. They'll all go away when I learn the lessons. And so now when pain comes up in my life, I don't go to blame, shame, justification. I look for the light, the love, and the lessons in it. And I expedite through different pragmatic procedures and my values, which I take inventory of every day, to create happiness, bright lights and loves and lessons. And then I empower others to do the same.
I absolutely love it. I went through a similar thing with my own father. My father, unfortunately, suffered from alcoholism, missed a huge chunk of my life. Mother, mental abuse, had mental abuse, physical abuse. Another person meant a huge chunk of my life. One of the biggest differentiators between the two is one did try to reconcile and has done a fantastic job. He's a fantastic grandfather, for example. Like it's his second chance. He loves his grandkids, whether or not I got 3 that are quasi adults, 2 that are in college, and, one that's actually working in one of my companies in the accounting office. And, but one of the things that struck me was, and one of the pivot moments I had in understanding grace towards that was a buddy of mine, a friend of mine named Chris Lacroto out of Texas. He asked me, he said, I got a question for you. I know you've went through all this hurt and all this pain and all these different things. To be sure, it's got to be heavy carrying that around, for one. And second of all, let me ask you this. Who taught them to be parents? Where did they learn to be parents? And then he gave me something I'll never forget. He said, here's what I want you to do from now on. Anytime someone hurts you or offends you, I want you to consider taking the time to see them how God sees them. I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean? He goes, well, you're a wounded child. You've made stupid mistakes. I've done stupid with steroids, with zeros and everything else. I've made lots of. I'm a living example of how to survive your mistakes, kind of thing.
I love that. I love that.
But, he said, next time you think about someone who's wounded you, look at it like a wounded child with their hands up with their hands up in the air and their knees all skinned. And he said, you'll be able to love people unconditional, even past their traumas. Doesn't mean you have to stay so connected where you can't, where they can injure you again, but you can create enough distance and space to allow them to grow. My father tried to talk me out of starting my first company that became, pretty successful overall. And as a result, 5 years later is when he came back and said, you know what? I should have never done that. But I had to stand in my convictions at that time to kind of make that happen. And, when we look at parental upbringing and the influences around that, I think there's a certain essence of us that I think that you've mentioned before, where you're seeking their affirmation. You want them to say that you're the best one, or you're the right one, it takes a little while to kind of break through that barrier, if you will. And I know one of the things that I've in studying some of your content that I love most is this active curiosity that you have about trying to discover that. Can you tell me a little bit more about how you perceive curiosity and why it's so important?
Yeah, there's a saying that I always use: be more interested than interesting. And I learned that at 18 years old when I wanted to be a doctor. And my oldest brother told me in a hospital, when he was a doctor, he said, wait, you hate hospitals and you want to be a doctor? And I realized I wasn't very interested. I had no idea what a doctor did. And, if you search and seek the information, if you search and seek what you want, if you ask, these are all be more interested than interesting. They're all curiosity based. They're all expansive. If you're curious, that means there's something bigger, greater, and accelerated beyond you. And when you're not, then you're just limited by what is around you, and nothing will grow or change, and only fear will keep you there. And so for me, curiosity would never kill the cat. It makes the cat grow fat. And if you want to grow fat, be curious, be more interested than interesting. Ask all the questions you can about what people like, what they don't like, what they have, what they're doing today. And most importantly, when you ask that, figure out how you could be of service or value, and ask how they can be of service or value to me. I have two objectives when I'm talking to people. I'm constantly trying to explore with my curiosity how I can truly help, where my strength may become your strength, and also where your strengths will become mine. And that's what creates this flow that creates the expansion, the acceleration, and growth that we all want.
Absolutely. And to take that to a step further, I know one of the things that that you've discussed is this vibration frequency, this ability to kind of activate a higher level of vibration to stop repelling things that you actually need in your life. How did you discover that along the process?
That's one of my favorite stories. At that time, I was extremely closed-minded and arrogant, money motivated. And I went to India, and I was sitting next to a medical doctor, a small little woman who was wonderful. And she looked at me and she said, "Are you okay?" And I literally, in my mind, I'm like, "Yeah, do you know who I am? Have you ever seen the movie Jerry Maguire?" Like, that's the kind of mindset the moron was in. You talk about outliving your mistakes is a miracle. You and I could be compadres for life. Yeah. So I looked at her and I'm like, "Yeah, of course I'm okay." And she said, "Oh, well, you have so much light and you're blocking it." Yeah. And I rolled my eyes back. I remember rolling my eyes back going, I am going to fly to Mumbai with this woman. This is going to be a long flight. And I said, "Really?" She said, "Do you meditate?" And I literally went on a diatribe. Meditate? I don't have time to meditate. I'm a multi-millionaire. I run the most notable sports agency in the world. I used to be the CEO of the world's first smartphone. Do you know who I am? Why would I meditate? I make everything happen. I grew up with nothing. I'm a multi-millionaire. I got a beautiful wife, beautiful cars, homes, houses, motorhomes, golf course. Why would I meditate? I don't have time to meditate. And she looked at me and she said, "Oh, that's too bad, because I could teach you to vibrate faster."
Oh, wow.
I almost lost my mind. I'm like, "What?" She goes, "Well, everything vibrates, and you can only be aware of that which vibrates equal to or less than you. So through meditation, I can elevate your vibration so you can be aware of more things. So the earth, the plants, animals, humans, sound, light, and thought, they all vibrate faster and faster." And then she said, "Do you know what vibrates the fastest?" I said, "No." She said, "The truth." And my hair on my arms stood up. The truth vibrates the fastest, and I can help you seek the truth. And now this is how arrogant and closed-minded I was. She then said, "I'd love for you to learn how to utilize theta meditation and quantum healing to change your life. I can elevate your vibration and frequency. Life can become simple and happy for you. Your light can shine through." And I looked at her and I said, "Not a chance. I don't have time." And then she said to me, "Oh, that's too bad." And she goes, "One of the things that I could teach you to be aware of is when to buy or sell."
Well, that got your attention, I bet.
I signed up. And then my wife didn't believe me because of how closed-minded I was. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to a 4-day workshop on theta meditation and quantum healing." And she Googled the lady. She's like, "Who is this woman? What are you doing?" Like, no trust at all. And I deserved it. And I kind of told her, "No, she can teach me how to buy low and sell high." She's like, "You're high. This is not you. Come on." And I came home with the knowledge of, body scans and past life regressions and all these things. And that set me forth on a journey that changed my life, and awareness, by the way.
So it's a couple things. So first of all, your wife was a great gatekeeper. Mine is too. And she keeps bad people away from me. She's really, really good at it. Has a sixth sense about it that I still don't fully understand. And the second of all, I think she's probably glad you went.
Oh, by far. And we actually paid for her to come to, San Diego. And here's how close-minded. This is an important lesson. I very rarely share this story. So I come back and I tell my business partner, it wasn't Warren Moon at the time yet. I said, "Oh my God, this lady does a money workshop and she can change your energy with money. And I said, I've made twice as much money than I ever have with doing less work, right? This is incredible. And he's like, oh my God, because he was way more spiritual. He's the guy that got me involved with Lee Brower and The Secret and all, a great guy. And he's my partner in the golf course. And he said, oh, awesome. Let's fly her here and close the business for 4 days, or do, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and pay for her to train everybody. And I looked at him. This is after it's changed my life, right? I looked at him, I go, we can't afford to do that. And he looked at me, he goes, I am so confused. What are you talking about? We can't afford it. I go, it'll cost us $100,000 in just time, pulling everyone out of the workforce to do that. And he goes, you just said you doubled the amount of money. What if everyone doubled the amount of money? He goes, we'll make millions. What did you learn, you moron? And that to me is the classic, to me still the classic struggle that I have is no matter how enlightened I become, how many words of wisdom and nuggets I can drop to other people, I'm still so far in my own way, I can't even see it. And that's why I tell people, take inventory of your values and don't be afraid of being a hypocrite, because you never know what you know. And I still don't know what I know.
I love that story because it's my life.
Yeah, I love it. I figured you would like it.
Yeah. Well, I wonder, so the next question is as a spinoff, is that where you learned that it was so important to raise the stakes and raise the standards? Is that where you learned it?
Absolutely. And put minimums, limitations and minimums on everything, and the consistent behavior. I learned the conscious continuum of conscious, subconscious, and unconscious quantum memory that exists. And I was the last person to believe in how a quantum memory could exist, even genetically. Like, I didn't believe that, alcoholism could be passed down from generation to generation. I felt you were in complete control. Right? I have learned the nuance of, we all need to, number one, enjoy the consistent everyday, persistent without quit pursuit of our own potential. And our potential is what is quantum within us. We can adjust it and activate it and do all types of things that may not manifest themselves in this lifetime, by the way. Right? There's some people, because, I really disagree with the people that say any habit can be formed in 21 days, the neural pathway is formed, and I go, no, not if your quantum nature is in the complete opposite direction. So that's why it's not fair to say there's some people that can smoke one cigarette and never smoke another. There's some people that smoke one cigarette and it will take them 6 lifetimes to quit, no matter what they do. Hypnosis, it's just genetic and quantum in your being.
Yeah, I mean, look at alcoholism. My grandfather, he was one of the 7 survivors that lived in North Carolina at Pearl Harbor.
Wow.
Okay. One of the 7. And that's when his alcoholism started. Well, by the time you got to me and my family, I was the only one in the family that wasn't drinking at all. The only one who was terrified of taking the first drink. The grandmother that raised me, who I refer to as Nanny.
I love that.
Yeah, right? She passed away. I was 9 years old when she came to me and said, hey, I've been diagnosed with cancer. I need you to help me with your little brother. Right? I'm 9 years old. I'm playing with G.I. Joes and Transformers. And now she's teaching me how to pull a chair up to this gas stove and, and boil macaroni and make oatmeal and stuff like that. When I look at nicotine and I look at alcohol and I look at all these different things, all of those things were generational. All of those things were, but I had to get to me. I actually had this moment where, and as a person of faith, I plopped down on my knees and I asked that I could be the one that broke the curse or broke the bondage or broke the whatever. And I felt like that prayer got answered, because even now, even though the journey was incredibly painful getting to this place, I've learned so much, and I wouldn't trade it for anything, because that prayer was answered. Now I'll tell you one of the things that's not really talked about a lot with entrepreneurs in general, and I don't know if you'll agree with me on this, but I'm just going to ask. I find that a lot of entrepreneurs, I know this was true for me for a while, feel misunderstood. Right? They feel misunderstood. They're like, hey, look, no, my intention is this, and here's my action I'm taking. Do you find that you work with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of successful people, right? You're very involved in their lives. You're very involved in their success. How many of them would you say, one, probably struggle with that misunderstood feeling, and 2, how are you helping them conquer it?
Yeah, only 100%. So
not too many.
Yeah, and that's, I can't tell you any venture that I've had that I haven't been laughed at, made fun of, scoffed at, and then they applaud me. You know, if you want to do what other people want for you, you're only going to do ordinary.
Yeah.
Nobody wants extraordinary. Even your parents, they claim they want extraordinary for you, but the minute risk comes involved, the minute the chance of pain comes involved, it's inherent in their nature to say, don't do it.
Yeah.
I want the best for you, right?
Yeah.
Be the doctor, lawyer, or failure, right? This is inherent. And so if you're an entrepreneur, that means you're trying to create something from nothing.
Yeah.
You have an idea that becomes a possibility, and you're inspired, which now becomes a probability in your perception, and it's still nothing to everyone else. So that separation will create the voids, resistance, and shortages that you're talking about. How do I deal with it? It's very simple. I tell people every day, take inventory of your own values, personal, experiential, giving and receiving values, and go ahead and take other people's advice as a handful of sand. If they're not aligned with your values, let the sand flow through your fingers. If you have a kernel that is aligned with your values, hold on to it. In other words, like James Clear says in the Atomic Habits, don't vote for what other people want for you, because it will be elected in your life. Yes. Don't vote, even worse for the entrepreneurs, don't vote for what you don't want, because it will be elected into your life. Those scenarios happen too much of the time that cause people, about 99% of entrepreneurs quit. They call it failure, but they quit before they're 25% of the way there, because they don't see the incremental growth and acceleration and learning that they've done. They are looking for results within the context of a man-made construct called time, and it's not going to happen. It takes time in order to evolve. There's no overnight successes. It usually takes about 17 and a half years, in case you wonder on average what it takes. That's what it's going to take. But don't vote for what other people want or what you don't want, because it will elect. So what does that mean? Take inventory of your values. Don't be afraid of being a hypocrite, and vote for what you want. It will elect itself. Take time out of the equation. Enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of it. And I promise you, only allow it to happen faster if you do that.
Love it, dude. Love it, dude. I've always said that if you're so busy living someone else's destiny, you're never going to live your own.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, seriously, you're never be able to get there. Well, I've only got a couple of minutes left, but you've got something pretty exciting that I've seen that I personally opted in for today. I'm pretty proud of myself. I'm super stoked about it. And that is the free Friday training. Like, how did you come up with this? Like, what can we expect? I know there's some surprises, and I know there's surprises intentionally, but what can you share?
Over 20 years, I've been doing free Friday trainings. It started for sales, because that was truly 20 years ago, all the situational knowledge and advice that I could give. I've had a lot of dummy tacks over the years that I've learned in situational knowledge since then. But I started just within the context of my company saying, hey, anybody wants free training, I'm going to give up my lunch and come and join me, and I'll pay for lunch. And the irony now is, I think we're over 20,000 people registered for this Friday.
Wow. Congratulations.
But the topics, and that's just live. Right. We do, the replays are featured on Spotify, on my podcast, The Playbook, on Entrepreneur, but The Playbook as well. Here's my coolest thing about the trainings as it has evolved. And they're always free. And I give exercises and guides for free. I give my book for free. And yes, there's surprises. This week is BYOQ. Bring your own questions, I'll bring the answers. But we've done Ultimate Ego, 5-to-5 sales training, how to pitch, you name it. We did a buy low, sell high last week, Margins of Millionaires.
Nice.
Very interactive. But here's the most interesting thing to me. I have built a huge podcast, as you know, called The Playbook. And I love it. I have the biggest guest in the world. The number one downloaded podcast now of mine is my free training. My heart sings. I have a vision, a mission to empower over 1 billion people in my life to be happy. Create a collective consciousness of happiness. Happiness, the greatest disease of all time, spread simply by witnessing it. Strengthens you mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially, and it'll strengthen your immune system, so it'll protect you against the COVID. Happiness will do that, I promise. But here's the greatest thing. I'm looking for 1,000 people like you to empower 1,000 people, to empower 1,000 people. Letting me come on your podcast is part of that gift, part of that system that I created, a mathematical equation to help change the world to an abundant world of more than enough. And so I can't thank you enough for having me on and showing up to my training and encouraging others. Just email me, david@dmeltzer.com. You can join me there, david@dmeltzer.com. I also have a text community. Please join me, 949-298-2905.
Guys, you heard it. You got to do this, man. I'm telling you what. David, dude, I love you to death, man. I love your heart. Your team is amazing, by the way. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. If there's anything that we can do on our side to help you in this success, I'm happy to come alongside of you and help you change 1 billion lives. You're making me raise my standard because I always said I wanted to transform 1 million lives. Now you're at 1 billion, so now I've got to come alongside of you so I can
over 1 billion.
All right, now it's officially over 1 billion. I'm holding you to that.
Yeah, sir. I'm like McDonald's, over 1 million served when we were kids. Remember, no one else is old enough, but we saw those signs. Now
Yes,
the
we
kid
did.
account is billions and billions, right? Over 1 million served. That's what we're gonna do.
I love it, man. Well, look, I love you to death. I appreciate everything, and best wishes. I know you got another show to hop on to and do some other amazing content with some other folks. Love you to death. Thank you so much for spending time with us, and I'll see you again, my friend.
You're perfect. Thank you. Be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Thank you, everyone.
See ya.
See ya.
Dude, you cannot say enough about David Meltzer. That dude is awesome. I love hearing him talk and love learning from him. In the meantime, if you love that one, you really need to check this one out right here.
So when you look at financial freedom and ultimately the goal, I guess the highest goal of financial success is financial freedom. And that means that you have enough money coming